Hello, everyone. Looks like we are live. I am very, very excited today to connect with the best guest I could possibly ask for, especially for today. And of course, everyone knows why, because who else would be the best person to ask all those questions that I have for Andrei Martyanov today? I am really excited to see you, and thank you so much for finding time for our conversation today, Andrei.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know that.
So if you would like to follow Andrei, I'm sure all of you who are watching me right now, you already know where to find Andrei. You have his blog down below the live stream and also his YouTube channel where he frequently posts and explains what's really taking place. So Andrei, today, as of course all of us know, very important meeting took place. The first meeting took place in Saudi Arabia between the delegation from United States and delegation from the Russian Federation, including, I think we all agree, our favorite, the one and only Mr. Sergei Lavrov. So what I would like to do first, if that's okay, and I think you don't mind, because this will be very short clip that was posted right after the meeting, in which the US delegation explains what they were able to achieve. And apparently they came to four agreements. Four agreements have been reached. So let me share this clip, what they were saying, and then we will go to my question for you.
Well, I would start by saying we've agreed on four principles that I think are important. The first is that we're going to appoint our teams respectively to work very quickly to reestablish the functionality of our respective missions in Washington and in Moscow. For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged. The third point is to begin to work at a high level as well, to begin to discuss and think about and examine both the geopolitical and economic cooperation that could result from an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Obviously, we have to see that conflict come to a successful and enduring end in order for that to be possible. And the last thing we agreed to is that while our teams are going to be working on all of this, the four of us who were here today, the five of us that were here today, are going to remain engaged in this process to make sure that it's moving along in a productive way.
Andrei, so what I would like to ask you now in regards to this, I could play Sergei Lavrov, but we will get there. I want to ask you, first and foremost, I believe what everyone wants to know is, do you think they will be able, through those negotiations, hopefully they continue, to achieve long-lasting peace? And is there anything, Andrei, that can sabotage those meetings, in your opinion?
First, I don't think so. It's possible to have any kind of lasting arrangement with the combined West. So, because it is what is called non-agreement capable, and Russia, for example, for its part, she knows exactly that unless Mr. J.D. Vance is elected the next president of the United States, there is no longevity or inheritance of any kind of the new policies in terms of the foreign policy. So it is the game. And the main outcome of this whole meeting is that at least they agreed to talk, which is good. It's already kind of, one better than it was before. And what is the most important, which is called the package deal, the main point is not even Ukraine. The main point is the overall geopolitical settlement across the board. And this is between Russia and United States. Obviously, United States will try to use all kinds of perks and trying also split Russia from China or China from Russia. I don't think so it's going to work, but at least it's good. They started talking, there's some kind of at least rational discussion is happening. As I already stated, it is in the stark contrast to what it was before. So, and yes, the fact that we're having already economic discussion there, it's already positive. So, and we already can hear and see that number of the American companies who want to come back to Russia. So that's good. That's, just generally positive. But until Europe is completely, which is going to happen, split apart into the smaller parts of those chihuahuas, like France or United Kingdom, they can sit there and, yap and, bark and do whatever they want, but they're chihuahuas. So there will be no real lasting security architecture in Europe. So in this particular case, United States and Russia's interests are sort of, coincide, which is really good. But then again, as I already stated many times, I will repeat it again and again and again. Superpowers, they move in their own universe. They move into the completely different plane. And to reach this plane, it's obviously a huge privilege also. And so it's suddenly we have what? Only three superpowers, United States, China, Russia. So how these three will rearrange the world, a lot depends basically on what it has started already in Saudi Arabia. And then we'll take it from there. But it's already good, the fact that they're talking, that is nice, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But don't have your hopes high. It's a long, protracted process, and who knows what will come out at the end, so because there is a huge issue here. And as I already stated, Ukraine is just the part of it. It is the geopolitical settlement, completely new one than it was in the last essentially 500 years.
Andrei, I have to say, I know maybe I'm delusional. I'm actually very happy they are talking. Finally.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Talking is better than war, So, but again, let's wait and see, for the actions, not just words, Russians are extremely pragmatic in this respect, and they say, okay, well, you either pull up or shut up, So basically, that's what it is. But no, you are correct. It's good that they are talking.
Also, when you mentioned this, and I want to go a little bit for a moment here, because the third point was that agreement to discuss and exercise both geopolitical and economic cooperation that will be the result after the final decision about the end of this conflict. So I read this. This to me, it's like there is some hope on the horizon for the future collaboration between Russia and United States, like normal flights, for example, Andrei, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Believe me, I do.
So let me ask you here, how do you see this? Because it looks like if there is no agreement, there is no economic and geopolitical collaboration.
There is none. Russia is absolutely independent from United States economy and US dollar. That's what scares the Trump administration tremendously. The fact that dollar is being bypassed pretty much, So, and the main pillar, so to speak, on which the dollar hegemony rested, the mythology of the American military power, was utterly destroyed in Ukraine. So that's why there is a worry. And again, in terms of present trade relations, there's a pocket change. This like between Russia and the United States is less than $7 billion. It's literally pocket change, okay? So they will try to use this as a perk, as I already stated. Oh yeah, we're gonna, lift sanctions here, but you have to abandon China. Russia's not gonna do that. And that is why Russia have been reinforced since 2014, to be sure that no kind of the economic pressure will succeed, and it didn't succeed, and so Russia is doing completely her own thing, and she will continue to do it. So many people have to understand that Russia is dictating terms here. These are Russians who decide. And the fact that they're talking is already good, but I mean, there are some requirements or, bottom line. And the bottom line, although looks like, yeah, there's some voices from Washington and are already clear that there will be no NATO for whatever will be left of Ukraine. And there will be not a lot of things. So, and that pretty much, dances around the issues of the or criteria which have been settled in the Istanbul. But of course, this critical phrase, which many people continue to ignore, and this is the crucial, it's actually pivot of all Russian statements in the last 3 years, with the consideration of the realities on the ground. So Mr. Nebenzia, the permanent representative of Russia in the United Nations Security Council, yesterday reiterated it again. Kherson, Zaporozhye, Lugansk, and Donetsk Oblast are not negotiable. There's no negotiations. They will have to, if they want to, survive, they have to get the hell out of the administrative borders, which are now Russian Federation. What's happening after that, that's a whole other story. Russians continue with the special military operation, and they will continue. There's nothing to stop it. There will be no freezing, period. Simple as that.
All right. So before I connected with you, Andrei, I came across information. Dmitry Peskov was addressing that meeting, and he said that absolutely no NATO in Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
Groups with other flags, right? We know. And they were actually saying that they are okay with Ukraine being in European Union, as if European Union will survive, Andrei. But that's another story.
I mean,
yeah, that's like a joke, kind of. But let me ask you here. So do you see this kind of like a post-World War II Germany scenario, that we will have the Ukraine split into two parts, and Russia will have one side, one part that will be governed by Russia, and then we will have another part of the country that will be governed by, I assume, United States, because who else is going to govern this? How do you see that?
Oh, there's nothing to see here. Mr. Naryshkin, who is, of course, the director of the SVR, which is the Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia, and personal close friend of Mr. Putin. It wasn't the news. I don't know why people not even talking about. This is the top-notch, basically CIA director equivalent acting on the orders from Mr. Putin. Well, guess what the news are? He invited to Moscow Polish, Romanian, and Hungarian historians to discuss their historical claims on what is today present Ukraine. I mean, that cannot get any clearer than that. Ukraine will be split between Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Romania has Bukovina. Obviously, Poland has all legitimate claims on the Galicia and Volhynia. So, and Hungary has their own Carpathian enclave. Russians are not only willing, they encourage this discussion. And guess what? All those historians are coming to Moscow to discuss it, and what will be discussion. Poles will pull out their map. Hungarians will pull out their map, and Russians will say, "Yeah, that's what we're talking about." Poland, remember the name of Lvov? It's Lemberg. It's a good old Polish city, and things like of this nature. After that, it is up to Europe to do whatever the hell they want to do with this, So because Russians are not going into Western Ukraine unless NATO wants to commit suicide, by Russia and does something stupid, which evidently they don't. And so that's very simple. These are huge news. I don't understand why they do not report on this. It's all over in Russia. And Mr. Naryshkin, who is also accidentally the chairman of the Russian Historical Society and things like that. Well, there you go. The judicial and geopolitical basis being brought in because the Western Ukraine will be split. between these three countries. And as whatever will be left, EU, hey, go right ahead. I mean, Russia was always on a record that, yeah, even Georgia, you can go to EU if you want to, but no NATO, no military alliances, so that's simple as that. And while Ukraine will be reduced, as we already know, probably to about enclave of 10, 12 million people with no real armed forces, only armed police, and who knows how it's going to be run. Russians already will make sure, obviously, that it is run such a way that there will never be any kind of the trouble. And yeah, when you're a size of 12 million people, something like that, yeah, you cannot do much, really. So simple as that. And that's what is in cards now. And Russia is ready to discuss with Poland, Hungary, and Romania the fate of those lands.
Andrei, so this sounds to me like an ethnic mess.
Well, I mean, it is ethnic mess, and it is also the part of the consequence of the European crime, and it was Western European crime of the World War II. It was Europe which precipitated actually the first World War II was created within Europe, as was World War I. It was created not only within Germany, it was created within the whole collection of the Western European countries, which were colonial powers at that time. You know how British created mess all over the place, ranging from India to Middle East. You have French, German, all kinds of people there, who didn't understand what they were doing. Well, they killed more than 60 plus million people because of that, created concentration and death camps, and we know what was going on. And if we think that this is the European influence or positive influence, well, I have a bridge to sell to those people. So this thing, which I speak about it nonstop, special military operation is the final salvo of the World War II. And Russians will make sure now that things are settled such a way that there is no ever again any kind of the initiative in Europe to march to the east again. There is a military and industrial means to do that, and of course there are political or geopolitical means to ensure it. And basically this ethnic mess, well, it is what it is. For example, let Polish army and police deal with the Western Ukraine, and putting those banderites under control. Poland has its own well-developed, security apparatus. Let them get those guys, those who need to be, behind bars. Let them get them behind bars and let them pacify this territory, which historically was always Poland anyway. So that's the way it is.
Andrea, I just have to say I'm really so excited to talk to you today. Like, I so appreciate your knowledge and when you come on, because I just love it. So, someone left a comment not long time ago under one of my videos, which is actually true. He said, what a paradox that Ukraine has a president who is Jewish and Poland has a president who's Ukrainian, because that's actually how the situation is. And I think at this moment, I am beyond excited that none of those idiots from EU and UK has been invited to that meeting. Doesn't matter how far. I'm so happy about it. Like, I'm actually enjoying the moment.
Yeah, Schadenfreude. And yeah, Europe is done. Europe, as we knew it, has no future. It's been damaged beyond repair. I'm talking about primarily Western Europe, anything. And I don't think so it's going to recover. Plus, United States, for example, is interested to keep those guys as slaves, economic slaves, because, just to give you an example, market for the US weaponry, it's not a good weaponry, but it's very expensive and it makes a lot of profit, and so Europeans will have this weaponry shoved down their throats and nothing they can do, and they will continue to deindustrialize. And it is an ongoing process. They lost access to Russian energy, and for the first time in centuries, Russians do not associate themselves with Europe. Even before the special military operation, even those foreign agent, polling companies like Levada Center and things like that, which are essentially U.S. aid financed, outlets, they already noticed in 2021 that 64% of Russians did not identify themselves as Europeans. And about 20% were kind of, ambiguous about it. So guess from three times how many Russians not only do not identify themselves today as Europeans, they hate Europe, they have full contempt towards Europe, and most importantly, majority of Europeans. So that's the thing which changed it all. Russian association with the Western civilization is over. It's done. Historically, after the more than 350 years of Russians turning towards the West, it's over. Russians are done with the West. They have no, especially modern West, which is completely perverted, pedophile center and things, things of this nature. So it's there is nothing to have. Russians already incorporated and transplanted the best what was in the West in terms of the philosophical ideas, in terms of the art and things of this nature. Today, there's nothing to talk about. It's a wasteland of the people who are absolutely brainwashed. They are absolutely scared because obviously economic stimuli, which are really painful, are already out there and they're working. Look attentively at what happened to UK. It's becoming third world nation, literally. And so when you look at this, those people always hated Russians. They did. Look how many times they invaded, Russians and killed millions of Russians, tens of millions, in fact. So nothing changed. This minority of Europeans who understand what is happening and they have integrity, honor, and it's minority. They do not project things onto the political life. And even when we look attentively at Germany, for example, yes, alternative for Germany definitely looks like the party which needs to be in power to at least save whatever is left of Germany. And believe me, not much is left. Things will continue to deteriorate at the snowball. But even they view Russians not only as the normal people. They view Russians as the vehicle for providing of the energy needs of Germany. They want to live as they lived. What Germany 20 years ago was the locomotive of the European economy. It's over. It's done. No matter who comes to power, no matter what they say, they are not being listened to. Russians will ask the only thing, what can you give us? And you have nothing, bye-bye. We don't want to deal with you. And culturally, there is a huge discussion in Russian society about erecting the cultural iron curtain. There is, it's a fields. I mean, Western civilization today is a concentration of fields. It's startling what have been done.
So you literally took me to my next question, like telepathically. Andrei, the head of the German arms company Rheinmetall, his name is Armin Paperger, said this: Europeans and Ukrainians have nothing in their warehouses. Weapon warehouses are empty. And of course, it couldn't be more obvious looking at those schmucks how much they want to continue, like support Ukraine bullshit and do this and do that. Andrei, who, in your opinion, what is the force? Who is the force that fuels those people to keep on saying this? Who is this force? Because now it looks like US is trying to let's finish this, okay? Already, let's finish this. You want weapons, we will produce for you. But let's finish this sacrifice, this human sacrifice, blood sacrifice. But no, they want more of their freaking rituals going. Who is behind this, Andrei, in your opinion?
Oh, societies, European societies, as I already stated. Although it's not Russophobia, we discussed it number. Russophobia is just fear, Oh no, they not just fear, they hate Russians. And do not forget, for the majority of those people in Germany, in low countries, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and all that. In France, for example, majority of those people, not only they don't consider Russians Europeans, which is okay, it's actually good, let them. But huge strata of the population of those countries, they hate Russians. It's racial, it's cultural, and it is pure envy when they look at those, subhuman Slavs sitting on the third of the world resources and being able to defend them in such a way that Russia can turn Europe into the parking lot within 15 minutes. So that's what it is. It's combination. Again, make no mistake, it's all over those elites. For them, for example, for people in MI6 or a British Parliament, Russians are subhumans. Those morons, they still think that they're a great empire with great culture. They're third world crap hole, but yeah, they still think about it, And this is how it's being perpetuated through all those intelligence and educational facilities in the West. They literally are people who are brainwashed, and nothing could be done about it. And there are only two ways of doing this: either kill those people who are, have this malice, or just ignore them and, insulate yourself from them. And I will quote late Mr. Colin Powell. And he stated once, because he actually, except for this obviously tragedy for his personal life and the famous, the vial of the anthrax in the United Nations, which became a meme. In reality, he was a geopolitical realist, and he stated at some point of time that we need to put out the shingle at our door. Superpower lives here. That's simple as that. So if you do anything, try to break in, you die. Period. And Europeans have to understand this, no matter how bad it will become for them, and it is already becoming. We have thousands of, which breaks my heart, we have thousands of senior citizens in UK dying from actually being frozen to death. We have people in Germany now standing in the soup kitchens. I mean, we already have Weimar thing going on there. And their economic contradictions and economic situation will become much worse. And Russians, yeah, they said you do anything stupid, you're gonna lose Paris. I mean, or we're gonna flatten Berlin, and that will be it. And nothing you can do about it. And that's how the power shift happened. It's historic, it's tectonic, and the scale of this power shift is, incomprehensible. And many people do not understand that it is driven by the special military operation and the variety of the technological, tactical, operational, strategic means Russia demonstrated. And they literally, many of them are going bananas. It's like, I say it many times. There are no competent people in, for example, British military. None. It's all fake, so it's not even a real education. Also, and yeah, that's pathetic, The all armies like that in Western Europe. So, and they will remain so, especially because obviously to have serious armies and unified forces of Europe, you have to have what they don't have anymore. You have to have energy and industrial capacity. They don't. And that is why this dude from Rheinmetall says, well, yeah, it's empty. Yeah, we know that. Wars are fought, real wars, not this BS, in Iraq, where for half a year they gather forces and then, beat the crap out of this third-rate power. No. The real wars are fought to the complete exhaustion of your enemy. And Europe, first, they are not what they think industrially. They always thought that, well, Airbus is an excellent aircraft, okay? So, and French still can, build some large cruise liner. Well, yeah, that's fine. But what do you produce now? What really matters? You cannot freaking feed your people properly, and you have already the poverty descending on that. France, and I already had my ears full from French. No, France probably not going to last beyond 2050 as the unified nation. And they pretend that Marseille is the French city. It is not. Everybody knows this. It's Arab, black, Muslim, anything but French. So, and these morons, they still live in this delusion that they're somehow powerful entity. They're not. And militarily, they're chihuahuas. They're midgets. And Russians laugh at them. So. Russians basically, demilitarized United States, whose stocks and whose warehouses and ammunition depots are not much better than what is happening right now with Europeans. But Europe will not recover, period. Simple as that.
I'm speechless because everything you said is true. I think what you said is really, really what's going on, but there is another aspect, Andrei. As you were saying, MI6 is behind it and their own delusion is behind it, that driving force. I also think there is the city of London, where the money is going and who is behind that money in city of London. And I think that might be, there are those families who reside in Europe that still try to pull the strings, but you cannot stop. This is an absolute disaster. And unfortunately, when I hear this idiot from UK, this prime minister creature, and his own people are dying in the country, like you said, those older people, this is heartbreaking. It truly is heartbreaking. But let me ask you here about this. Let's say, which I think is very much possible, that Trump will withdraw the United States from NATO. Let's just imagine this scenario at this very moment. Because we were talking about this before many times, about the possibility of it. So let's say this happens at this stage as we are right now. How this is going to go forward? How Russia will react if Trump says, you know what? Excuse my language, screw you, everybody. You're not giving 5%. I'm out of it. What Russia is going to say, how this map in Europe will look like?
Oh gosh, I don't know really, because obviously Trump cannot do this de jure. He cannot do this de jure because it will require the action on the part of the Congress, and but NATO will die out. Is already dying out de facto, because it's basically. It's mostly, legerdemain. It's all about the, half and puff, but in reality, there was very little actual military power. But no, I mean, if NATO dies out, well, Russians will say, you and you, we can talk to you. You go to hell and die out there, So, and that's how it's going to be. So, and as I already stated, for example, if AFD comes to power and they come to power with all those, wonderful slogans, but once people get to power, they change. So, will Russia even talk to Germany? I don't know. There's nothing to talk to French. It's a basically country which, twice elected sexual pervert, the pedophile central. That's who they are. So, and you cannot talk to them. There's nobody to talk to them. All primarily globalist parties, which again, they still think that there's a great nation. They are not. So, and how do you even arrange it? Let them fight each other. Let them freaking kill each other if they want to, as happened during remember during COVID, that the United Kingdom was stealing masks. This is huge industrial power which cannot freaking produce. They were literally stealing masks, and vaccine planes from each other. This is who they are, low lives. Let them live their low lives of creeps. If they, as I already stated, if France tomorrow disintegrates somehow, or will lose as part of it, nobody will cry except for French and maybe some pseudo-European, centralists who. Other than that, I mean, let them go to hell. These people are responsible, as I already stated, in the 20th century, for tens upon tens upon tens of millions killed of people. They are guilty of the colonial heritage and actions which Of course, we can remember how the famines in India went, from the service by London. So who cares? Yes, I'm joking, but you know what? There's only so much joke. I hope Russia already prepares their special forces teams to take out, when the substance hits the fan, which it will at some point of time. We just don't know the configuration of this, spread from the fan. Teams for saving the artistic treasures. So literally just save whatever. That's where this all goes.
Yeah, you're the best. You're the best because you're like I already see the picture when you're talking. I'm sorry, it's Andrei.
Yeah, I mean,
was there a talk lately about Russia creating a form of, and I just use this NATO as an example. Is there such a talk that they want to have their own alliance of countries, military alliance? So if that would be true, then probably some of those normal European countries could join that. Don't you think?
not possible. The problem is I
Like
already
Hungary.
stated. Yeah, it's the issue of the Europe is still fairly advanced technologically, as I already stated. If you take a look, for example, at the Airbus, just to give you example, yeah, that's outstanding, company, outstanding commercial airliners. But in military field, Europe is backward, literally, So remember all those best tanks in the world, like Leopard A2, whatever the hell or Challenger will, all burned really well, when they met the real army, So in terms of the space program, Europeans are nowhere near in the same universe as, for example, Russians and Americans. Obviously, United States has an outstanding space program, despite all kinds of troubles. But I mean, unmanned, and in terms of the satellite constellation, they are first in the world. Russians are actually becoming second. So you look at this, it's just like, yeah, they cannot produce even fifth generation fighter, they can't. They say, oh yeah, we'll produce the sixth generation fighter by 2040. Good luck with that. So, and when you look attentively at them, yeah, it's not impressive, to put it mildly.
So here, Andrei, let's see that we have this agreement. I really want peace. That's what I know maybe I'm like dreaming, but I really want this to end. I really want peace. Okay?
Everybody wants, yeah.
Everyone wants it. I think ultimately we all come to the same desire. Do you see that Europe will be simply put into a position just to accept whatever was negotiated and just make peace with it, make peace with that peace, finally? That's how you see it?
Absolutely. Europe is not the subject of the international relations. It's an object. They will do as told. As Vladimir Putin stated, they will come to the foot of the leg of the master and will wiggle their, tails. That's who they are. United States will tell them to shut up, and they will shut up at some point of time. There is, of course, the protocol, all those, kabuki theater to, kind of make it look like it's in any way is, respected. But even today, my God, you have this moron Kellogg being assigned to handle negotiations with Europe and Ukraine. I mean, between Ukraine and Europe. I mean, it's just you get the moron to run the kindergarten. That's what it is. I mean, there's serious people, obviously, top American and top Russian bureaucrats. The rest of it is just, I mean, it's humiliation. It's like, adults are sitting at the table, and then there are those kids, sitting at the children's table, with, it's like, that's what it is. It's simple as that. Europe and Ukraine will not be allowed into this package deal if it ever materializes between Russia and United States, which will be about, in the end, spheres of influence and security. Simple as that. there is a huge deal has to be worked out, not in the Trump sense, no, it doesn't work like this. But the deal will be, you accept our requirements in terms of our security zone, and that's what only Russians care about. Russia has everything she needs now to, it's already, taking off. Did you see the economic numbers for 2024? It just, industrial output grew by 9.8%. It's just insane, So yeah, and so Russians are doing well without any freaking West, So, and that's what is happening. And the United States obviously has its own views on this, but for Russia, in terms of Ukraine, there is an ultimatum which we know what it is, and Russians will dictate those conditions.
Andrei, since you said this, exactly, this is all about humiliation, and I'm so happy that they are humiliated. Can I just tell you? I'm so
I'm enjoying it. I'm not lying.
I am like, milking this moment. Can I show you? Because if we are like really going low with them, can I just show you the schmuck? This is humiliation.
Говорити що завгодно, але не можна приймати рішення без України, як вирішити війну в Україні. Ті чи інші умови. І нас не запрошували на цю зустріч, російсько-американську зустріч в Саудівській Аравії. Для нас це було сюрпризом, я думаю, так, як і для багатьох. Мені не все одно, щоб партнери про нас щось зайве подумали. А ми абсолютно чесні, відкриті. Я не хочу співпадінь. І тому я не поїду в Саудівську Аравію. Ми зв'язались з нашими партнерами в Саудівській Аравії. У мене хороші дуже відносини з його Royal Highness, так, з Мухаммедом. Ми тільки що зв'язались і домовились, що 10 березня я буду з офіційним візитом.
Andrei, what the heck is he talking about? What delegation in Kiev? Who? Lindsey Graham with his flip-flop boys, whatever? Who he's expecting in Kiev?
Mohammed bin Salman, I don't know. I mean, these are delusional people. Zelensky is a dead man walking. He will be offed at some point of time by British who guard him. So, but then again, British is primarily there, it's terrorist status. That's the only thing they do well, kill people, and, that's about it. That's the extent of their military capability. They also kill civilians really well. That's really good. That's their forte, I would say. So, yeah, he is high constantly on his whatever cocaine, amount of cocaine he consumes. So, and he will say anything, He probably understands that his gig is up, He is, essentially puppet, and he will be disposed of as most of the Western, Muppets or puppets have been disposed of. So simple as that.
But Andrei, who controls him now? Is he on his own, or someone is still controlling him?
Oh no, he is essentially the creature of Biden administration and British. British are, well, let me put it this way: their political elites are stupid. They bet the farm, or rather the whole United Kingdom, on the success in Ukraine, because they are obviously militarily and economically illiterate people, and all their families, which, and I can only quote Mr. Stalin, but rephrase it about the Pope. But how many divisions does Rothschild family has? None. So if you want to put your money against their high caliber guns, let's do it and see what's gonna happen. Violence is the only hard currency in the world. Okay, and those who control violence, Russians control the violence. They are the best armed forces in the world by far. And technologically so advanced, even the United States is not in the same universe. And so simple as that. And he could be controlled by anybody, but it doesn't matter. But in essence, as already stated, he was a Biden administration creature by all those cretins like Blinken and Jake Sullivan, illiterate lawyers, essentially, who, by the virtue of being virtuous in the worst possible sense, ended up controlling this and unleashing this whole thing. Well, they are war criminals, and let's wait and see what is the political dynamics inside the United States. But Zelensky is done. He is the dead man walking. If he thinks that he can escape to some villa somewhere in Italy, I have a bridge to sell you, because due to him and his curators, as already stated, they're practically most, not all, political elite in the West, and especially in, let's say, Britain, they are war criminals. The same as the Biden administration was criminals altogether, war criminals, just regular criminals, things of this nature. So it makes no difference. And so, what can I say? It's over. And I guess there will be people who will come for his head, because they killed on the Ukrainian side more than 1.2 million soldiers. 2 million approximately are maimed or disfigured for life. So there you go. And as a result, there will be people who will be looking for him and will be willing to settle accounts. And that could be Ukrainians, who suddenly recognize when their reality will be disclosed to them. Many already suspect something, what has happened, and that they are not brotherly people. Russians do not want to do anything with so-called Ukrainians. And after that, somebody will come for his head. And there are many people who have military and recon capabilities to just off him if he somehow survives his British curators.
Andrei, so now who is protecting him? Still British do?
Yeah,
British
of course. Yeah. British are not smart people, and they will continue to play this, big game, like pretending that they're big dogs, but they are just, chihuahuas. And so whatever the considerations for MI6, which I'm not even sure they're smart people. I read their reports from Chatham House. It's hilarious, These people are hilarious clowns, really. And so they may off him for their own political considerations. But British, as I already stated, they do not think straight. They cannot think straight, because essentially they have been reduced to the third world crap hole, which they are, and they have to face this. But as I already stated, they may have their own ridiculous or hilarious political considerations, and they may off him before somebody else gets to him. Russians would want him to be obviously in the dock at the tribunal, but we'll see.
Andrei, here, yes, I have to ask you this, because I'm so excited to talk to you today. You can clearly tell. Andrei, what if Russia has one of the conditions to have him for the tribunals?
Who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure that there are consideration about this, but how it will be accomplished, I obviously do not know. We have to keep in mind that now, when the Russians and United States talk, and of course everything is kept in wraps, under wraps. Nobody's gonna go out and say, "Oh yeah, we talked about it and we had this." No, it will be as usual platitudes. We talked about this, we talked about that, but in reality, you may have Mr. Ratcliffe, the CIA director, talking now to Mr. Naryshkin or to Mr. Patrushev, just in case, And whatever the hell they will discuss there, obviously nobody will ever know, okay? Because this is the serious game of the serious special services, intel services, and how things will be arranged, I don't know. I really have no clue. But I suspect that issues of the responsibility, issues of guilt, and issues of the charges, including for the war crimes, have been or will be discussed within this framework of what is being talked about, because again, it's not just about Ukraine, but it is about larger geopolitical package, so to speak. And Ukraine being, of course, very important part of it. I mean, you cannot bypass this thing, because guess what? If you imagine this, if you, Mr. Patrushev or Mr. Narishkin, meet with Ratcliffe, guess what Russians will do? And they probably already did. They will bring the photos of what Ukrainian armed forces and NATO forces committed against Russian people and Russian civilians, and against their own civilians too. And there will be a lot of exchange on this matter. And especially because somebody, for example, in CIA, at least on the lower analytical and operative level, they already knew what was happening. They knew the real deal. So now these people who, as Larry says constantly, which I applaud him for this, they have been sabotaged. They will not be allowed, they haven't been allowed to present the case to the higher ups. And higher ups are all political nominees who suck, from the fat teeth of their Biden administration, which they subscribed to this criminal act, which was Ukraine. So now those things will begin to probably float up to the higher ups who, well, again, Ratcliffe, I'm pretty sure he's cleaning up the house as we speak. So, and that will change the mood, hopefully. And then, yeah, Zelensky should face the war crime tribunal. And as many in Russia call now, and I subscribe to this opinion, let's return or abolish moratorium on their death penalty. There are many people.
I agree, Andrei. I agree with you.
There are many people who have to be executed, and especially neo-Nazis. And my gosh, there are so many things there to talk about. It's just, they all are neo-Nazis. What do you expect?
Last question, Andrei. That was heavy one, the last one. Several times, the US delegation, Rubio, several times, he was bringing up the topic of sanctions that Europe placed on Russia. And he mentioned one of those conditions, as far as I believe closing this deal, is ultimately Europe has to lift those stupid sanctions. He didn't say stupid, I say stupid. Andrei, do you think they're gonna lift it? When they're gonna lift it? And I mean, pretty much like, and US has sanctions on Russia as well, right? It's not just Europe.
Yeah.
But he mentioned.
Well, yeah, here's the deal. United States, if things go along and there is some kind of understanding, mutual understanding, and of course, based on the bottom line of Russian demands between the United States and Russia, United States can lift its own sanctions on Russia. Europeans, I don't think so. So, and in the end, why, for example, United States, which can make now a killing from selling the, let's say, liquefied natural gas to Europeans, 3 times the price they had it before. So why would you kill their gold in the goose, which, or whatever, the duck or, chicken who, gives you their golden eggs. And so that's possible, but Russians are not dependent on them, not dependent on Europe. So, and Russian pivot shifted dramatically towards Asia, which was inevitable. And again, Europe is going to be deindustrializing even faster. And eventually it will reach the level of the, second world, maybe. Some of them will, but listen, again, it's just like, we have to be very realistic about the industrial development within Europe. Europe is shedding its industrial capacity like crazy, so, and it will continue to do so.
I know you mean Russia doesn't care if Europe lifts sanctions, but are there any sanctions that it would be just nice if they lifted, because people still have families, for example, they want to fly to, directly?
No, I mean, primarily, whatever the governments come, for example, in France or in Finland, for that matter, Swedes were always, I mean, hated Russians. I mean, they are gods. I mean, they are. So it's doesn't matter, you know. The only thing which I agree with you, if the United States leaves this stupid ban that Aeroflot, you know, and Delta can fly to Moscow directly, by God, that will be such a relief to fly through JFK. For example, whenever we fly to something and we have the overhaul, you know what we say? We would rather do this within United States, good old USA. People say, "Oh, you know what? You're from America." No, we just, you know, we as Russians live in the United States and we're accepted as Americans. You cannot do this in Europe. In Europe, you will be pointing out you are Russian. You are, you know, and that will be the type of the attitude. They will be looking at you as the, you know, from the racial and cultural point of view. Here, yeah. And so, yeah, for us, we get, you know, so, and JFK, hey, it's good, you know, that you can do Seattle, JFK, you know, Moscow or LA, Moscow. That would be nice instead of going through this hell, you know, of, yeah, so it's just stupid. So, yeah, that would be nice.
So, Andrei, first meeting happened, which I think it's a good first step. Some people, like you say, don't put your hopes too high. I actually choose to put my hopes high because I believe that we will come to the end of this. I don't say cease fire and then play the games, because Sergei Lavrov even said, like, no, they are not going to allow Europeans to play this gypsy tricks on them. And I agree.
Exactly.
Gypsy tricks, yeah, we say the same in Polish. Cyganić, yeah, cyganić. No, no.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Slavic languages they have, so, and especially when there is a good pronunciation, like I remember listening to Magdalena Ogarek when she was running for position like a few years back, and her diction was so perfect, and that I was catching myself that, oh my God, I understand like 75% of what she's saying in Polish, because her diction was perfect, you know. So I'm like, oh, good Lord, I know Polish now, you know. So, but yeah, it depends on the pronunciation, because the people who have great diction, you can really get together things pretty well.
And with Mr. Lavrov, I have to tell you that the way how he articulates Russian language, and he's not in rush. This is pure class, is diplomacy. It's, you know, I almost want to listen to him in original Russian version, even though I don't understand everything, but I understand a lot. And then I listen in English, right? Or I see the subtitles, because I enjoy the tone of his voice. This is just my thing. I enjoy his voice, and I like that I understand a lot. And also, you know, what he's saying, it's so important and so much value.
If you are dropped in Warsaw somewhere, maybe, you probably will navigate okay, even with Russian, you know, and will understand Polish a lot. So, and I'm pretty sure the same goes for Slovakia, for example. So there, but remarkably many throughout my life, I couldn't understand Czech very well. Czechs are different, you know, so Czechoslovakian type area there. But speaking about, Serbs, obviously you have
Croatian. You will understand
Croatian language, and Poles, that was easy, relatively easy, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I'm getting this, you know, so.
Because, Andrei, before we end this, at the end of the day, we are Slavic souls and we get each other. Like, if we want, we really get each other. Like, we understand the spirit, the soul. And I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't have any problems. I don't hate Russians. I don't hate Russians.
No, absolutely.
Many people who don't.
Yeah, it's, yes, Slavic realm is a complex thingy, obviously very complex. And especially Russian-Polish relations. But then again, we are not on the precipice. We are within the happening as we speak right now. Tectonic shift. Once half millennium or 1 millennium tectonic geopolitical cultural shift which redefines the world. And let's see, and as Chinese say, let you be condemned to live in the interesting times, so we're condemned to live in the interesting times. And so nothing we can do about, just observe.
Andrei, thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored to have you as a guest every time. I enjoy so much our conversations, and thank you for explaining many things and highlighting what is important, especially that part, like you said, that you're amazed no one is paying attention, and the historical people are already laying out the maps and deciding which part will be polished, which I'm not excited about at all, but that's another story. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to follow Andrei Martyanov, his YouTube channel, SmoothieX12. Yes, this is kind of very, very
$2.99 a minute.
And his blog is down below this live stream. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit the like free of charge and share the video with everyone who is still confused. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Andrei.
Bye-bye.
Bye.